Does the thought of getting rid of your TV terrify you? Hi, I'm Jenny with Kids Learning for Life, and my family and I just put our TV away. I'm here to show you how this is entirely possible, and not just possible, but also really enjoyable. So once you've decided to get rid of the TV in your home, it usually goes one of two ways. You either put it away immediately and you really stick to this plan, or you kind of think about it, you're like, I don't know, and it just gets delayed and delayed. For a while, we did the latter. So when we moved to this house almost 3 years ago, we didn't have TV or even internet. So the idea was to be completely screen-free, spend time outside, do nature study, all those things, you know? And then COVID happened and we were stuck at home with the kids with nowhere to go. And to top it all off, that first month or so of lockdowns was just nothing but rain. So of course, we brought out the TV. Before finally putting it away recently, we were really getting good at limiting the screen time and, you know, not just creating habits of falling back into just watching TV nonstop. So keep that in mind. We're not necessarily talking about getting rid of a TV altogether. We are talking about how to reduce the amount of time that your kids spend passively in front of the TV. This way you can spend more time as a family doing activities and learning together. I also want to mention that my family and I don't have a ton of experience with using like tablets, like iPads, or my kids don't really have like little phones that they use. So what I'm talking about here is specifically TV, but I will say that my tips that I am about to start listing do probably apply to tablets as well. Okay, so let's jump into my tips on how to reduce screen time in your home. One really great way to do this is to find alternatives. This is especially useful at first when you're kind of TV detoxing, because you might want to find other things that fill your time when you would have been normally watching TV. So my favorite alternative is audiobooks. This has kind of always been my go-to for how to fill in that time. You can also get your kids reading more. My kids are just now independently reading, so that's a great way to fill some of our quiet time that we do. And then, you know, for younger kids, that might mean doing read-alouds with them. We also think that listening to music is fun, and, you know, some of the music we listen to is highbrow and some of it is lowbrow, maybe just Disney soundtracks or whatever. But, you know, any sort of music that brings you guys together as a family is great. And then, of course, I always recommend learning how to do crafts. So this could be as simple as just cutting out pieces of paper and gluing them. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Or, you know, it can be something more advanced like crocheting, knitting, whittling, anything like that. Those are all fun and kids love it. Now, one thing I will say is that you don't want to fill this time with using another screen. So for example, you know, in my home, we just put our TV away, but I do have a laptop that I use for Kids Learning for Life. And I could easily, instead of, you know, using the TV that we used to have, I could easily just have them watch the same amount of TV or more on my laptop. But I'm just not going to do that because my goal is to reduce the amount of screen time. So the only thing that we really do watch on the laptop is maybe a Shakespeare play or two, but I'm really trying to be mindful of not just pulling out the laptop when things get a little hard. Now, when you're further into your detox, you might want to work on creating new habits. So say your habit was after dinner, you guys watch a TV show together or a movie together every night. Well, change that habit to something that doesn't revolve around the screen. So what about playing a board game together? Maybe have your kids more involved in the kitchen, have them help you make dessert after dinner. And then always a go-to for me is read-alouds. So I don't know, just come up with something that fills that time during which you would have been watching TV. And as long as it's engaging to the kids, which most things that parents do hands-on with kids will be engaging to them, they will actively look forward to these new activities that you create. Now, if you're a family who still has their TV out, but you just want to be mindful of how much screen time you are using, one tip I have is to set limits and stick to them. Before choosing something to watch, kind of keep in mind how long it's going to be, whether it's a movie or a TV show, and then set a limit. Okay, after this episode, we're going to turn it off. Something like that, because something that I kind of started doing, and it was a little annoying, was I would turn on a TV show with episodes thinking, okay, this is only a half an hour as opposed to an hour and a half, so we're gonna turn it off after this episode. Well, TV is designed to continue sucking you in. So we would just keep watching episode after episode, and then it ended up being longer than a movie would have been. If you decide we're gonna watch one episode of Dr. Pol today, then you need to turn it off after that one episode. Next, I want to suggest setting parameters on what is being watched. If you are using screen time, try to make it productive in some sort of way so that it's not so passive. So I would suggest watching educational TV shows or movies. And no, educational does not mean boring. For a list of ideas, Stacey has actually created a whole video of a list of educational shows on Disney+, so I will link to that below. So some of our favorite shows that are educational are like any of these like Disney nature type documentaries. We also love shows like The Dog Whisperer, we love The Incredible Dr. Pol, just anything that's kind of science-y, that has to do with animals. Kids love animals, it's always a win. There's also this show on Curiosity Stream called A Stitch in Time, which talks about historical garments in the past and they recreate them in modern times, and it's really fun. So I'll link to Curiosity Stream below as well. One benefit to choosing educational shows over, just kind of junky, twaddly shows is that it's a little more guilt-free screen time. Also, I've noticed that these, history and science shows are a little easier to stop watching after just one episode. And as a homeschooler, you can probably just count this time as school time if you were looking for a science lesson to do. Yeah, so life without a TV, I feel like it's been a much richer parenting experience. We read together, we listen to music and audiobooks together. I mean, we even spend more time outside, even when the weather isn't super nice. I just felt like the TV's presence in our life was getting too big, both physically and mentally. It was just so easy to break down and just turn on the TV when someone was feeling cranky, especially if that cranky person was me. But since turning on the TV is literally not an option for us, I feel like the whole mood of the household has changed. Now we're more likely just to hang out quietly, maybe sit around, chat, ask each other questions, get to know each other kind of. I just know for us, it's been extremely refreshing to put the TV away, and it has quieted our lives so much. And I encourage every family to put the TV away, even if it's just temporarily, or just strive to use it less. Since you're probably looking for things to do together that does not involve a TV, I would suggest my Podcast for Kids video. So I will link to that over here just for you. See you next time. Happy homeschooling.